Hello, Taiwan Talk podcast listeners. It's been a while since we did this, but we are bringing it back. Morning Show and Taiwan Talk are teaming up once again to bring you a live extended interview. This was on the Morning Show with Terry Engel. This one that you're about to hear is on eSports in Taiwan, and our guide to this wild new sporting world is one of Taiwan's own prominent expat shoutcasters. If you don't know what those words mean right there, don't worry, you will in a second. I certainly learned a lot in this interview as well. So it's, good learning experience for all of us. With that in mind, we bring you now to the Morning Show with Terry Engel on the morning of February 17th, 2016.
ICRT FM 100, the Pretenders, don't get me wrong, kicking off the 10 here. We are now amidst our midweek extended interview, something we do here on Wednesdays where we bring in people who do things just a little bit differently here in our community. What do we got going on this week, Keith?
Well, there is a new kind of competitive sport that's kind of taken over the world's arenas. And it's not played with bats and balls and jump ropes and all those things that sporting type people play with. This is played with computers.
Okay.
So I'm talking about eSports here. Competitive video gaming, more or less.
Competitive video gaming.
Now, this is kind of bad news for me because, as many of our listeners will know, I'm not too good at conventional sports.
Mm-hmm.
But this is no lifeline because I'm also bad at video games. So this is just a new way to suck at competitive.
Anything competitive, Keith.
Nothing. Yeah, I can't.
You're just
really,
you're a lover, not a competer.
We'll go with that. Let's go with that. But on the other hand, bad news for me, good news for Taiwan, because apparently Taiwanese various computer gamers are killing it on the international stage.
Right.
They're doing great.
Right.
So a lot of unknown talent that we are currently unlocking in this new e-gaming era.
Okay.
Well, today we have someone from that world of e-gaming with us. His name is Ben Novotny. He's also known as Binga or Breaker SC2.
Okay.
Various aliases. He is not primarily a game player. What he's known for is his shoutcasting.
Now, this is something I touched on earlier. I just kind of touched it.
Right.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that even means.
Well, I'm going to let him explain it in just a second.
Okay.
But the basic idea is it's a commentator, but for e-gaming matchups.
All right.
So rather than commentating on sports, well, I'm already going to start a fight. Rather than commentating on a basketball game, you're commentating on like a StarCraft game.
Okay, now let me just roll this clip here. Maybe this will give us a little idea as to what we're talking about here.
Just having a timeout, seemingly a little bit better for, I don't know who to say. I mean, the exchanges so far, we've got a Baneling nest already finished for Slam. He's got Banelings. Oh my God, the suicide! Oh my God!
This is a StarCraft game.
Somebody call the police! This is getting murdered!
I believe these are Zergs that are involved here.
Yes, that is correct, gentlemen.
You may want to just...
Right there is tremendous. He's got roaches coming out. Needs to hit those transfuses. Very important that he keeps this wall off for as long as possible. Roaches are going to try and block the holes, but it looks like the Lynx might get in.
Oh my God, those Banelings look like they're probably going to hit the mineral line. Lackluster connection on number 1, but it looks like number 2 might get a golden hit connection. Now it looks like the Lings are going to come in and try and get the one-hits on those drones because they have absolutely no hope.
I got to tell you, this might as well be in Greek.
I know. I'm kind of thinking the same thing. You can hear the excitement.
You sure can. Well, on that note, why don't we welcome Ben to the program? Ben Novotny. Ben.
Hey, welcome to the program. Now, this was at the 2014 Taiwan Open, so you were one of the shoutcasters at this Taiwan event, and you're in for the Taiwan scene is that you can actually shoutcast in Mandarin. Is that right?
I tried marketing myself as that in the beginning. Yes, that is correct. But basically, I mean, what I was doing way back in the day was I was sitting down with a book and a journal in front of my computer, and I was just basically transcribing each character I could find that I couldn't recognize in StarCraft 2. And let's just say, when I look back at that time and how much time I'd actually spent trying to learn Chinese for StarCraft 2, I don't want to do it again for another game.
Yeah,
so it is like a whole extra language.
Yeah, judging by that clip, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Chinese is actually 3 different languages you're learning. That's 1, modern spoken Chinese, 2, written Chinese, and then 3 ancient,
and then video game chat.
And then 4 StarCraft.
Yeah. Let's just go back to the beginning of all of this. What is shoutcasting? Maybe you can give us a definition of what this means.
All right, so shoutcasting, basically the best I can come up with for the first iteration of shoutcasting, I think, was the early 1900s. We had just basically radio programs coming in for commentating on soccer games, on American football games, baseball games, whatever have you in between. And there was no visual representation thereof whatsoever, right? There was no TV at the time, no live television broadcasts for baseball or football or anything like that. Instead, they just used a radio method. That's it. And this is actually the same way it was for shoutcasting some video games way back in the day. Warcraft 3, StarCraft Brood War.
Okay, hold on a second. You made a jump from radio in the 20s and baseball to Warcraft. So let me just, is shoutcasting, let me put it this way, is shoutcasting particular to video games? Because I haven't heard, I'm not familiar with this term, I guess.
You know, to be perfectly honest, I never looked it up in the dictionary. I've never Google searched this term shoutcasting or the origin of shoutcasting. But, of course, I have seen someone place a YouTube video on Reddit.com before about the history of shoutcasting. And basically, this person alluded to the first radio casts made
okay.
in the early 1900s.
So when you think about what you're doing, though, basically, you feel like what you're doing is a continuation of this long tradition of commentating sports.
Yes, but more specifically to the realm of professional gaming. And
of course,
and I've never done it without a visual representation of what is happening in game. For example, it's always on YouTube or it's always on Twitch that I do what I do.
So, I see. So it's like live commentating. It's not live commentating. Like you don't sit there beside the guy who's trying to play the game and go, "Wow, he's got he
hit that D button real good."
That D button, that finger is really going quick, or anything like that. So you're not disrupting the people who are playing. I guess is what we're getting at. So this. Okay, this is interesting then, because I've seen this before, and I've seen, television shows in the States or Canada, even way back, where they kind of had these Saturday morning kind of half-hour shows where they would kind of, not cast or not commentate on gameplay, but they'd bring up a game and then kind of do a walkthrough. I guess that's what I'm looking at. But this is not that. This is actual kind of play-by-play commentary, the same way somebody may be commentating on a hockey game or baseball game, right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, excellent. And you're involved in the Taiwan community here, which does it. Tell me, first of all, about how big competitive gaming is here in Taiwan.
Let me just try to describe to you all a history of all of this, because the best that I can do to really state numbers is everything that I have seen from the beginning of late 2011 all the way until now.
Okay.
So first there was a group called Taiwan eSports League, and they still exist, but they've become extremely retracted compared to what they used to be. And what I remember was back in 2011, 2012, they were raking in numbers like 15,000 people willing to watch StarCraft 2 games, especially when the King Zerg of Taiwan himself, a player by the name of Sen, Yang Jiazheng in Chinese, whenever he was playing. And
15,000 people watching.
From Taiwan, that's pretty good.
Wow! That's pretty good. That blows my mind.
Right. And you have to ask yourself, what does this mean from an advertising perspective?
Yeah, well, it means a lot, obviously, but I didn't think the numbers that would be that high. 15,000 people just to watch somebody play a game.
Well, I mean, when you stop and think about it, Taiwan is an island with a population of 24 million, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, but I wouldn't watch Keith read a book. You know what I mean? You can understand where I'm coming from.
I'm not if he commentated it.
Yeah, I probably would. That's probably, and that might mean the next question is the need for commentating is that kind of where that was born from, or this idea of showcasting or commentating for video games? Did it come out of this need for it? People were watching. Yeah, obviously a lot of people, 15,000. You might not think it's a lot, but to me that blows me away that there's that many numbers. Was there a need for this commentating? Were people watching it and going, well, I'm not really sure what's going on here, or I want to be able to listen to what's going on at the same time? Is that where this kind of came from?
Well, I have to ask you a rhetorical question. Do you watch a soccer game or a football game or a baseball game on TV without someone talking about it?
No, absolutely not. It's boring without it. You're right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, basically anyone could have gotten started doing this. That is to say, shoutcasting. But as time went on, it just seemed to be more and more in the interest of game developers themselves. That is to say, Blizzard Entertainment or Riot Games, or not so much Valve. They really don't care. If it's not a game developer, it certainly is the organizer who is running a tournament. And their best interest to make sure quality is at the highest.
Yeah, make sure people are interested in the more people who are engaged in this. By the way, I'll just to answer your rhetorical question. By the way, soccer's boring no matter what. So let's just put that out there. Let's just get that out there.
You know what I think? All real sports are boring no matter what.
What?
Oh,
wow.
Gauntlet thrown down.
Holy
Virtual
shit.
gauntlet thrown down.
Here we go. We are throwing down here.
Pixelated blood everywhere.
That's right. Okay.
Exactly.
Hold on, guys. We're going to take ourselves a very short break. We'll be back in just a few moments. We've got Ben Novotny. He's a showcaster here, commentator for video games. We'll get into some of the video games that he works with, some of the video games that are big here in Taiwan, and at some point you and I are going to have to go head-to-head on something. I don't know what, but we'll work that out. It's the Morning Show with Terry right here on ICRT.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. We're good to go. Right back to the show.
I like it.
ICRT, where we've got it going on.
That's a take.
10:22 in the morning. We return to the morning show with Terry Keith. We have Ben Novotny in here. He's a showcaster, commentating on video games. Now, before we get to Ben on this, let me ask you. What do you think qualifications would be for something like this?
To be a shoutcaster?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you'd need to know the games to be able to commentate them.
Okay.
That's trickier, I would imagine, because there's a lot of games.
Right.
If you're a soccer commentator, you just need to know soccer.
You just need to know soccer. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So you need to know the rules. You need to be have engaging back and forth repartee with your fellow shoutcasters.
I guess what I'm getting at is this: is if soccer is super boring, I would suggest you need to have more skills to commentate soccer to fill up all that time. Ben, let's get to you on this. What types of things do you kind of need to be a shoutcaster?
Really, all you need to do is teach yourself to be a better public speaker. That's number one. Number two is you could be a former professional gamer. That's actually what most viewers like to see. First and foremost, like they love to see players that have retired and decided to go into commentary, like people who used to be perhaps the top 10 players of the most previous game that they were playing, even players that don't even speak English very well. It's just hard to describe. There's so many different cult personalities in the esports industry. We're talking about, let me give you an example. There's a player by the name of MC, and if I had to guess, he could not pass the test of English as a foreign language to save his life. That means there's no way he could possibly get into university to begin studying, right? But at the same time, that's what everybody loves about him and the things that he does. Like, right. I remember shortly after he had won a game, they had shot a camera over to the analysts and the hosts, and they were going over the replay, and then he just steps in front of the camera. He's like, no. I tell you how I win. And
right.
Yeah. He's just... And I mean, he just pushes the guy away.
So you need a little personality.
Yeah. Based on what you've just said as well, you said that because he couldn't speak English or whatever. Is that predominantly the language internationally that this is kind of done in English?
I mean, not necessarily, but this is why he has so many English-speaking fans, because a majority of his fans are actually outside of Korea, although he himself is one of the best players in Korea.
I see.
Was before he retired.
Now, are you yourself a gamer or at all approaching professional gaming capacity?
I have never once ever been near professional level. I will say that there are times when I've been playing a game and I've been in the top 2% of the server that I've competed on, and that, I mean, but what's 2%? I mean, what's 2% of the Earth's population?
Yeah,
Right.
Math is not strong.
That's
on
a
this,
big.
program.
I guarantee you, no matter what, it's going to be a big number. So, if there's if I'm in the top 2% of say 100,000 players on a server, then that means there's 2,000 ahead of me, and I'm like, do I really want to get just that little bit better?
What is the game that is kind of the be all end all? What is, if I was great at this game, and I would be respected or considered a great gamer, or maybe it's the go-to game or the real test of skills. What game is that?
It's hard to say, really, but I mean, in Taiwan, definitely League of Legends.
League of Legends, okay.
In America and Europe right now, it would be either League of Legends or Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Counter-Strike Global Offensive is a game that I'm spending a lot of time with as of late. And, but in my book, in the beginning, it was always StarCraft. And the reason why is because it's the greatest way to determine how to max out your own skill set as a player, or how to actually show how good you alone as a player are. Because Counter-Strike Global Offensive and League of Legends are all team games. Those all require teamwork. If your teammates make a mistake, well, how could you possibly be blamed for something like that?
Good point.
Right. But I mean, if you are able to constantly issue 200 commands per minute and keep a game going for a period of 1 hour or 2 hours in a game of StarCraft, then it's hard to describe. It's the best game for 1-versus-1 experience, and it'll always hold a special place in my life, even though I haven't played it for months now.
So let's take StarCraft as an example then. So, Terry was kind of alluding to sometimes commentators would really have to play up soccer to keep people engaged. Do you feel like you need to play it up to make it interesting, or is it interesting by itself? Like, what do you have to do to keep your listeners engaged in this game?
You have to identify what is going on at every single second in the game, and then if you see that one player is going to be making an offensive move, or not offensive as in to say make someone mad at him, but instead offensive as in ready to attack his... Oh boy, this is difficult to put into words. Okay, trying to win the game, let's put it that way.
Okay, right. Okay.
So instead of...
Difficult to put into words, it's your job!
No. I mean, is this
putting things into words? Yeah, exactly.
Or is this an attack in the game?
I'm just kidding with you.
All right.
So instead of screaming goal, do you scream pwned? Is that no? Is that not a thing?
No.
I mean,
as a commentator, you never want to say something that sounds offensive to a player. What you want to do is you want to make the game sound exciting with the move that they're about to pull off in game. There we go.
Right, and if they do or they don't. Okay, so much
right.
in there's a parallel here between sports and video game kind of commentating. That's fair to say, right?
Yes.
Just so that people can kind of really get a handle on what you're doing here.
A reference point.
Yeah, exactly. Let me move on to this. While we were on break there for a second, you said that you had you're looking for work, or you worked and you did this sort of thing as a professional show guy. This is actually a job, right? Like this is not just something you're doing for kicks or whatever. Like, I think I want to get that across to listeners here too, is that this is something that is like an actual legit kind of
There's an
job.
Industry behind it.
Yeah, there's an industry behind this. Yes? That's correct?
That is true, yes. But if I had to guess, I would say there are perhaps, for StarCraft alone these days, I don't know. I think there's probably only 8 people who are actually able to make a full-time living off of shoutcasting. If we're talking about League of Legends, you could add at least 12 more names to that list and bring it to 20 people globally who are able to make a full-time living off of shoutcasting. Throw Counter-Strike Global Offensive into that, and I would say 25, perhaps 30. I would say not more than 30 with those games.
So there's not a lot of people doing. So this is a very niche sort of thing, or I guess you've got to be good to be one of those people to make a living at this.
Or you have to create your own product that people... It's hard to describe, really, but... what these people are is they're commentators for extremely stable leagues for tournaments, just like the MLB or say perhaps the NFL, or
and they're hired by these bodies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right. Okay. I got you. All right. Just so we can get the whole setup of this, and so we can paint a picture, because at one level, you know. At least me, when Keith and I first talked about this, it's like, oh, okay, well, it's just a couple of guys sitting around on the sofa commentating on their buddies playing video games. But now it's really kind of coming to perspective for me here, where this is an actual sort of thing with leagues and whatnot. Who develops these leagues, and what are the governing bodies? How does that all kind of work?
All right, so let me ask you this. Whose best interest would it be to create this league? Because it's more or less a form of marketing. You're going to have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching.
All right, Ben. I asked the questions around. Okay. Don't stump me with questions. You tell me. How's that?
So most of the guys who run these leagues are the ones who created the game themselves. For example, there's Riot Games. And Riot Games created the LCS, which is known as the League of Legends Championship Series. There we go. I'm like, what could C possibly stand for a minute? Just sorry, lost my track of thought there. But so this is a tournament that's run by Riot Games, and it has a very strict, very comprehensive rule book, to the extent that players must not only conduct themselves well in game, on stage, and but also just conduct themselves well whenever they're in their own personal lives, like not. Yeah, I mean, if you, it's probably even more strict than the NFL, their rule book, or just as strict. At one point, there was actually a rule that these players could not play any other games. They could not publicly...
exclusivity contracts and whatnot, right?
Yes and no. Like, there was a list of 27 specific games and items that they could not associate themselves with. Of course, 26 of those things were games, and then the 27th one was basically tobacco and alcohol.
Right.
So if you're in this league, you can't smoke or drink?
Not where people can see you. Let's put it that way. Not on a stream.
Wow. That is more strict.
Yeah, geez, okay.
Way more strict.
Yeah.
Getting lots of insight into the world of video gaming.
That was
squeaky clean.
That was in 2013, but if I'm not mistaken...
Not that I imagine video gamers really are of the bad seed anyway. Don't get me wrong. I had no preconceptions about that.
Taking bumps off the top of their computers.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, now let's kind of move this way just a little bit. Maybe you can tell us, because obviously there's a lot of gamers here in Taiwan. It's obviously very popular given its size and whatnot. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how people kind of get into that and get into leagues, and how does it all start? You talked about gateway games and things like that. Maybe that's something you can also kind of mention very quickly.
All right, so basically the first step is to actually start playing the game, because whenever you play a game, you can be given a link to a Twitch stream at almost any given time. We're talking, now that I think about it, every major game that I've played, except for perhaps Hearthstone, has some way of linking you to a live stream on twitch.tv. And that basically is a live streaming platform similar to, like ESPN or whatever, but for gaming strictly.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's even television networks or streams.
We're missing out on some markets, apparently.
Yeah, wow.
Sort of, but I do have a good question for you. Here's the brilliant
questions.
Here's the brilliant part about Twitch.tv. Okay, it becomes an advertising space for anyone who's playing games, not just competitively speaking, but they could just be playing, say, some solitaire in their spare time, or maybe some Pac-Man or whatever.
Okay.
Just to put it into layman's terms, but it becomes an advertising space, because let me ask you this rhetorical question. Have you guys ever seen Peyton Manning just in his own spare time at the field practicing?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen Michael Jordan at the field just in his own spare time practicing? Like 24...
Oh, no, I haven't, no.
Okay. So this is the brilliant part about Twitch.tv. You can see these cyber athletes
I see what you're
in their
getting at.
spare time if they choose to share it with you.
I got you. See, those weren't rhetorical questions. Those were actual questions.
Yeah. Sort of.
No, okay, I see what you're saying. So you can go on to these streams, watch some of the best gamers in the world, potentially, and see what they're doing, how they're playing, their tricks, their tips, all that sort of stuff. That's what you're getting getting at.
Yes and no. It's like oh boy, like
we're getting a lot wrong today.
They could be
I don't know
playing.
what's going on.
They could be playing. They could do whatever they want to do in their spare time. They could be training themselves at the game some more. They could be playing a game that's going to help them just relax a little bit more. But
all right.
the fact of the matter is, if we're going to bring attention to the players themselves, however, they do go through very rigorous training regimens. In North America alone, you'll be seeing at least 8-hour training regimens.
And that's what you can see on Twitch TV, is what you're getting at.
If they choose to share it, yes. But if they, no, I'm serious. If you're broadcasting on Twitch.tv and there are 5,000 to 10,000 people watching you practicing, then is it really practice? Because what you're doing is you're giving away your strategies.
Okay, all right.
Because these are games that are very dynamic. It's not
Maybe that's why you can't see Michael Jordan practice, because he doesn't want to give away his strategies, right?
right. Well, sort of.
Gotcha.
Sort of.
All right, excellent. Keith?
Well, okay, so let's just lay down a couple facts about gaming in Taiwan real quick. This is coming from the Taipei Times. They say that the Taiwan eSports League, that was established in 2008. It has 5 teams of full-time professionals, and there's games every Saturday and Sunday night broadcast on Videoland Television Network and other sports channels. So tell us a little bit about that world. Is that on the upswing? Is that getting bigger and bigger? What is the whole esports sporting world like in Taiwan right now?
Sorry about that. That's actually a very, very, very outdated, I wouldn't say statistic. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think TESL has any more cooperation going with Videoland Television Network, but they do, however, have some cooperation going with Fox HD to broadcast a product that they make themselves, a first-person shooter called Soldier Front 2. Excuse me. But, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Yeah. I just spent a lot of time just correcting that.
That's all right. I guess the broader question is when we think about esports in Asia, let's kind of just think about how does Taiwan stack up? Is it
2012 world champions.
2012 world champions. And so tell us what's behind that.
So we used to be good.
Used to be good.
No. What happened was there was a team called Taipei Assassins. They had 5 people from Taiwan and 1 from Hong Kong by the name of Toys, Curtis Lau. And basically what happened is these guys all went to oh boy. Okay, so LCS. Let's take a step back and just take a brief glance at how this LCS works out. Okay, so there's LCS North America, LCS EU, there's LMS now in Taiwan, there was GPL. I'm not sure what it was called in 2012, but these are all regional tournaments that happen on each and every spot of the planet. China has their own league. Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau had their own region. They still do now. And so what happened was Taipei Assassins won the championship spotlight for Taiwan and Hong Kong and Macau. And as a result, they were allowed to go on and represent this region in the World Championships in 2012.
There we go. You were losing us for a moment, but we're back. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And so what had happened was they got stuck against a team from Russia called Moscow 5. And I was looking at, I didn't pay attention to League of Legends back then, but watching the VODs, that was a very, very close best of 5 that Taipei Assassins was playing against them. And then when
They lost, I'm guessing?
No, they won.
Okay.
They won. That was the amazing part. That was at the
naysayer.
I'm just going to stop assuming things.
Root for the home team, buddy.
Yeah. And I was just watching. It was a best of 5, and I was just like, God, this took so long, and I guess they finally got what they wanted. So they went to the grand finals, and they played against a Korean team by the name of Azubu Frost, and I was just like, well, what on earth is this? The end score is 3-1, and Taiwan took the championship, you know?
All right. Well, that's I guess all we can hope for.
Well, I mean, it was just painfully slow, really. I mean,
I know the feeling.
Painfully. No. It was so much faster than the previous game the previous match that had taken place.
Right. Okay. We got to stop right there. We got to take another break. When we come back, we're talking to Ben Novotny. He's a showcaster, commentates for video games, if you can believe it.
Right here in Taiwan.
Right here in Taiwan, yeah. Stay with us. Short break here on The Morning Show.
FM 100.
ICRT.
ICRT FM 100. We're back here at The Morning Show with Terry. We got Ben Novotny in, showcaster in the video game world, along with Keith and I here. And let's put this to you. Geez, every time we get a funny, or what do we call it, odd news, other news story out of Taiwan, it seems to be another person has died in an internet cafe here.
playing games.
Yeah, this has happened a few times, not just once or twice.
And then the worst thing is that they're not noticed for days and days because everybody else is so focused on their game, they don't even notice.
And everybody there is so long. Talk a little bit about that. Is that we talk about occupational hazards and, injuries within the sport itself. Is this regular? What needs to be done here?
Well, I think the reason why this is happening is because Taiwan is the top 5 safest countries on the planet. I'm just kidding. That's probably a tasteless joke, but I mean, what I'm trying to say here is, they're not doing anything dangerous when this happens, but, really, do I think there needs to be a limit on something like this?
Let's frame it in a slightly different way. So, Mayor Kowinja, he's a big fan of gaming.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to see...
I saw his cosplay.
Yeah. Oh, you did? Okay. Was it good? Do you approve?
When I finally got the reference, I was just like, oh, now I get it. Yeah, and I kind of laughed.
Wow.
Yeah.
America is so into gaming, he's giving references that Binga barely gets. That's impressive,
right.
America.
Right, that's pretty deep.
That's pretty deep. Anyway, so the way that I wanted to frame this, though, is so he wants video games to become like a legitimate sport in Taiwan, an official sport. And so if we're saying that this is something that should be elevated to that level of an official sport that would get, government funding and you'd get exemptions from military service and all that, is that something that we should be doing when, there does seem to be this aspect of it where people can get really sucked into it and it impacts their life in sometimes a very negative way? I mean, there's addiction involved here.
Well, first and foremost, I actually lost weight due to that addiction, really.
Yeah.
No.
There you go.
When I was 15 years old, when I was 16 years old, I remember it was like a month I had gone without playing any Counter-Strike or Halo 2, and I remember it was just like, I don't want to eat, I just want to play another game.
Exactly, and that goes on a lot here in Taiwan. And it doesn't just have physical repercussions, but it has a lot of social and mental repercussions as well.
That is true. But at the same time, you get forced to be socialized. It's called institutionalization. You go to school, you talk to your friends at school about what they do with the game or anything else in between.
Yeah, well, I do hear your point. We won't get into too much of a philosophical conversation on that, but I guess what Keith is getting at is, you're right. On one hand, we want to elevate that, but on the other hand, we've already had some problems, and the problems are that people are dead in internet cafes.
Yes, I guess, are we overblowing these problems? Is there a bright side to this that we're not quite picking up on because we're not a part of this world?
Well, I feel like it's a little bit overblown because, really, what you're talking about is when someone winds up dead in an internet cafe, you're talking about something like, not going home and getting some sleep, or maybe this guy's got some personal problems and he just gave up on life.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's what we were getting at. Maybe these are not stemmed from video games, but there's always a bigger overlying problem usually associated with that, and I think that's also always important to point out.
I really don't think this is an internet cafe problem because I've seen, get this, some irony, I remember I was watching a YouTube video that was called Top 20 Gaming Related Deaths, and yeah, a lot of these do happen after long gaming sprees, 96 hours no sleep or something like that.
Right.
I would rather not go through something like that. But get this, here's the interesting part. I remember seeing something about someone playing a fitness game, a fitness simulator, but it forced them to get some exercise in front of their television, and this game had caused this person to have a heart attack, not after a long binge, but after maybe just an hour of playing.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Okay.
So anything can kill you.
Basically,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I
see where you're going with all this. All right.
Sure. I saw out of 20 deaths that related to gaming, only one of them was related to being fit. If that makes sense. But
well, that might tell you why then.
Yeah, sort of.
Different ways to interpret statistics.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, I tell you what, Ben, it's been a pleasure learning about showcasting, and I think I can safely say Keith and myself have learned something today.
Quite a bit.
Outside of our...
Started from zero.
Yeah, a very interesting profession that you've kind of adopted or...
carved out for yourself.
Yeah, and embarked on, so good luck with all of that, and... I don't know, happy showcasting. I don't know what you guys usually say in this world, but happy showcasting. And
Taiwan #1 as well.
Maybe
Taiwan #1, yeah.
Maybe what you can do is lay out your YouTube channel or things like that for us. So people who are listening that are in the gaming world, they want to get in touch with you, they want to see what you do, they know where to go.
Well, I can be found on Facebook if you guys look for Breaker SC2 or Being on Google. Oh boy, my phone's exploding with invites now. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I can be found on Twitter at twitter.com/BreakerCS, as right now I'm in the middle of switching to a different game title. And let me think.
YouTube channel?
I do browse PTT every now and then.
Okay.
Usually every day. YouTube,
every now and then, every day.
Basically. Yeah,
right.
kind of. But aside from that, I really can't do. I haven't really toyed with YouTube in a long time.
Okay. All right. Well, that's where you can get a hold of Ben Novotny, showtcaster here. 10:53 in the morning. Stay with us. I'll let you in on what the theme for your request is going to be in just a moment. This is going to be Haim and If I Could Change Your Mind right here on ICRT.
Thanks for listening to the show. You can catch more of these interviews most every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. on ICRT FM 100 during the morning show. And you can find just dozens upon dozens more interviews, more of them of the not live variety, somewhat more condensed, newsier. But you can find all of those on the Taiwan Talk podcast stream on the ICRT website and on iTunes. We're also just getting into SoundCloud, so search Keith ICRT to find that there. For more updates on ICRT content and Taiwan news in general, you can follow me on Twitter. I tweet at Keith Menconi, so look for me there. Thanks once again for listening to the show. For Taiwan Talk and the Morning Show with Terry Engel, I'm Keith Menconi. See you next time.